Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Want an awesome and unique top loader for your commander? Then you should check out Custom Armor Plates by today's sponsor, Silverscale Games. These plates have awesome custom designs to really make your commander stand out at your next game night. They are made of aircraft-grade aluminum with a vegan suede interior, so your commander is always well protected. These custom armor plates are designed to fit in all standard deck boxes on the market, meaning you'll never have to store your commander separately from its box. The best part, in my opinion, is that you can create your own design. You can create your own artwork from their collection of elements directly inside their forge. Design it however you want, and it will be custom made just for you and delivered to your door. I love these plates and have already had one made up for my expensive Perforos deck. It is the perfect accent. Go to silverscalegames.com and use the promo code POWER at checkout to receive 10% off of your order. A big thanks to Silverscale Games for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Zeb, piloting Inalla, Archmage Ritualist. This deck uses Inalla's powerful Eminence ability to make copies of wizards to pull off an infinite Spellseeker combo. Zeb's opening hand contains a Ragavan Nimble Pilferer, Flooded Strand, Rite of Flame, Flusterstorm, Jitaxian Probe, and his London mulligans are Essence Flux and Gemstone Caverns. Next we have TK, piloting Vohar, Veldalian Desecrator. This is a Dimir deck that tries to control the board while it assembles one of its multitude of combos. TK's opening hand contains a Mox Amber, Cavern of Souls, Grim Monolith, Necropotence, Yawgmoth's Will, Flooded Strand, and a Lion's Eye Diamond. After that we have Ryan, piloting Rocco, Cabaret Caterer. This turbo version of Rocco tries to make infinite mana as fast as possible or assemble infinite attackers with Kiki Jiki. Ryan's opening hand contains a Taiga, Sacred Foundry, Finehorn Elves, Eternal Witness, Worldly Tutor, Bloodstained Mire, and a Wild Growth. Finally we have Alana, piloting Dihada, Binder of Wills. This is a turbo breach deck that uses its commander to ramp and fill the graveyard. Alana's opening hand contains a Plateau, Enlightened Tutor, Out of Time, Soul Partition, Lurrus of the Dream Den, Gemstone Caverns, and a Polluted Delta. Without further ado, let's kick off this terrifyingly tight Tyrite of Tinfoil. Zeb is a Dapper Dan man and gets to start us off. But Alana has a pregame action, putting Gemstone Caverns onto the battlefield, exiling Out of Time. Zeb draws and plays a Flooded Strand. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Volcanic Island onto the battlefield. He pays 2 life to cast Jitaxian Probe. He looks at TK's hand and draws a card. He casts Ragavan Nimble Pilferer and ships the turn. TK draws and plays a Cavern of Souls, choosing Wizard as it enters. He casts a Lion's Eye Diamond. He passes the turn. Ryan draws and plays a Taiga. He casts a Finehorn Elves and gives the turn to Alana. At the end of Ryan's turn, Alana casts Enlightened Tutor. She fetches up a Jeweled Lotus onto the top of her library and moves to her turn. Alana draws and plays a Polluted Delta. She cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Badlands onto the battlefield. She casts Jeweled Lotus. She sacrifices Lotus to help cast her commander, Dihada, Binder of Wills. In response, Zeb puts a halt on Alana's fun by casting Force of Will, paying a life, exiling a blue card, countering Dihada. Alana passes the turn to Zeb. Zeb draws and moves to combat. He attacks TK with Ragavan. TK takes the hit and Ragavan triggers. Zeb creates a treasure and TK exiles an Imperial Seal. In his second main phase, Zeb casts Imperial Seal from exile. He fetches up a card onto the top of his library and loses 2 life. He ships the turn. TK draws and plays a Flooded Strand. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He casts his commander, Vohar, Veldalian Desecrator. He casts Mox Amber. He ends his turn. Ryan draws and plays a Bloodstained Mire. He casts an Arbor Elf. He casts a Wild Growth, enchanting his Taiga. He passes the turn to Alana. Alana draws and plays a Plateau. She casts Lurrus of the Dream Den. She casts a Jeweled Lotus from her graveyard through Lurrus. She gives the turn to Zeb. Zeb draws and moves to combat. He attacks TK with Ragavan. TK takes the hit, Ragavan triggers, Zeb creates a treasure, and TK exiles Thoughtscour. In his second main phase, Zeb casts Rite of Flame, adding 2 red. He casts Intuition, targeting Alana. He fetches up Spellseeker, Reanimate, and Scholar of the Ages. Alana chooses Scholar of the Ages, and the rest go to the graveyard. All through, Zeb ends his turn. TK draws and activates Vohar. He draws a card, discards Rushing River, and his opponents each lose a life, and he gains a life. He casts an Arcane Signet. He casts a Grim Monolith. He passes the turn. At the end of TK's turn, Ryan cracks his Bloodstained Mire, pays a life, and fetches up a Stomping Grounds onto the battlefield untapped, paying 2 life. He then casts Worldly Tutor. He fetches up a Dockside Extortionist onto the top of his library and moves to his turn. Ryan draws and plays a Sacred Foundry into play untapped, paying 2 life. He casts Dockside Extortionist. Dockside enters and Ryan creates 5 treasures. He casts his commander, Rocco, Cabaret Caterer, where X equals 1. Rocco enters and he fetches up a Wirewood Symbiote onto the battlefield. He ships the turn to Alana. Alana draws and sacrifices Jeweled Lotus, adding 3 white. She recasts Jeweled Lotus from her graveyard through Lurrus. She sacrifices Lotus again to help cast her commander, Dihada, Binder of Wills. She activates Dihada's second ability, revealing Dockside Extortionist, Marsh Flats, Luxury Suite, and the One Ring. She puts the One Ring into her hand and the rest into her graveyard, creating 3 treasures. She casts Recto's Signet. She casts the One Ring. The One Ring enters and Inalla gains protection from everything until her next turn. She activates the One Ring, putting a burden counter onto it and drawing a card. She moves to combat and attacks TK with Luris. TK takes the damage, Inalla gains 3, and then she passes the turn. Zeb draws and moves to combat. He attacks TK with Ragavan. TK takes it, Ragavan triggers, Zeb creates a treasure, and TK exiles Entomb. In his second main phase, Zeb casts Entomb from exile, fetching up a Dockside Extortionist into his graveyard. He ends his turn. TK draws and activates Vohar. He draws a card, then discards Yawgmoth's Will. His opponents each lose a life, and he gains a life. He plays a Scalding Tarn for turn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Watery Grave onto the battlefield untapped, paying 2 life. He casts Necropotence. He activates Necropotence 10 times, paying 10 life, exiling 10 cards. He moves to his end step and puts the exiled cards into his hand. In response, Ryan activates Wirewood Symbiote, returning Rocco to his hand and untapping Arbor Elf. TK then discards the hand size, exiling the discarded cards. Ryan draws and casts Rocco, Cabaret Caterer, where X equals 2. Everyone debates on whether or not to counter this, but they decide to let it resolve. Rocco enters, and Ryan fetches up Grand Abolisher onto the battlefield. With the table's ability to interact all shut off, Ryan casts Arena Rector. He suspends Greater Gargadon with 10 time counters. He activates Greater Gargadon, sacrificing Arena Rector to remove a time counter. Arena Rector triggers, Ryan exiles it, and fetches up Vivian on the Hunt onto the battlefield. He activates Vivian's first ability, sacrificing Rocco, and fetches up Felidar Guardian onto the battlefield. Felidar enters, flickering Vivian on the Hunt. Ryan activates Vivian's first ability again, sacrificing Felidar, fetching up Karmic Guide onto the battlefield. Karmic Guide enters and returns Felidar Guardian from the graveyard to the battlefield. Felidar enters and flickers Vivian on the Hunt. Ryan activates Vivian's first ability, sacrificing Felidar Guardian, fetching up Kiki-Jiki Mirror Breaker onto the battlefield. He activates Kiki-Jiki, creating a copy of Karmic Guide. The Karmic Guide copy enters and returns Felidar Guardian from the graveyard to the battlefield. Felidar enters and flickers Kiki-Jiki. He presents a loop of activating Kiki, creating a hasted copy of Felidar Guardian, which enters and flickers Kiki. He repeats this process until he has 42,069 cats with haste. Ryan moves to combat, turns all of them sideways to kill the table, but they were all of them deceived, for the One Ring was cast on Alana's turn, and into it she poured her cunning, her spite, and her will to win every game. The One Ring to rule them all. Having protection from everything, Inalla takes no damage. With nothing else, Ryan passes the turn to Inalla, sacrificing his tokens. During her upkeep, the One Ring triggers and Inalla loses a life. She draws and activates the One Ring. She adds a burden counter and draws 2 cards. She plays a Scalding Tarn. She cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Blood Crypt onto the battlefield untapped, paying 2 life. She activates Dihada's first ability, giving Luris Vigilance, Lifelink, and Indestructible until her next turn. She moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Luris. Ryan takes the hit, and Inalla gains 3 life. In her second main phase, Inalla casts Grim Tutor. She fetches up a card into her hand and loses 3 life. She casts Jeweled Lotus from her graveyard through Luris. She casts Last Chance, getting an extra turn. She passes to, well, herself. During her upkeep, the One Ring triggers and Inalla loses 2 life. She draws and activates the One Ring, adding another burning counter and drawing 3 cards. She activates Dihada's second ability. She reveals Godless Shrine, Birgi God of Storytelling, Mana Confluence, and Chrome Mox. She puts Birgi into her hand and the rest into her graveyard, creating 3 treasures. She casts Harnfell, Horn of Bounty. She activates Harnfell, discarding a card and exiling Cabal Ritual and Mana Crypt off of the top of her library. She activates Harnfell again, discarding a card and exiling Gamble and Underworld Breach. She activates Harnfell, discarding a card, exiling Wheel of Fortune and Yawgmoth's Will. She casts Mana Crypt from exile. She casts Cabal Ritual from exile, with Threshold, adding 5 black. She casts Underworld Breach from exile. She casts Grinding Station. Grinding Station enters, and with the trigger on the sack, she sacrifices Mana Crypt, targeting herself, milling 3. She then untaps Grinding Station. She activates Grinding Station, sacrificing Jeweled Lotus, and milling 3 again. She presents a loop of escaping Mana Crypt, untapping Grinding Station, adding 2 colorless with Crypt, then sacking it to Grinding Station to mill 3 cards. She repeats this process until she mills Mox Opal. She presents the same loop but escapes Mox Opal this time, adding a red each time. She does this until she mills both Twin Flame and Dualcaster Mage. She escapes Twin Flame, targeting Luris. She holds priority and escapes Dualcaster Mage. Dualcaster enters and creates a copy of Twin Flame, targeting Dualcaster Mage. She presents a loop of creating infinite Dualcaster Mages with haste. She moves to combat and attacks Ryan with her mob of Dualcasters. In response, Ryan uses his Kiki-Jiki Felidar loop to create infinite Felidars. He then proceeds to block each Dualcaster with 2 Felidars, killing all of them. This is when Inalla realizes her mistake and must think of another plan. In her second main phase, Inalla escapes Lotus Petal. She sacrifices Lotus Petal to help escape Mayhem Devil. Ryan, knowing his Felidars will get sacrificed at the end of turn, activates Greater Gargadon, sacrificing a Felidar token. Holding priority, he sacrifices all the rest of his Felidar Guardian tokens. Then Gargadon's abilities resolve and Ryan casts it from exile. Then Mayhem Devil resolves. Now, looking for another way out, Inalla escapes Lotus Petal. Petal enters, untapping Grinding Station. She floats a red with Mox Opal, then activates Grinding Station, sacrificing Opal, targeting herself. Mayhem Devil triggers, dealing 1 damage to Ryan, and Inalla mills 3 cards. She sacrifices Lotus Petal, adding a red. Mayhem Devil triggers, and she deals another damage to Ryan. She escapes Mox Opal, untapping Grinding Station. She taps Mox Opal, adding a red, then activates Grinding Station, sacrificing Opal, targeting herself. Mayhem Devil triggers, dealing a damage to Ryan, and then Inalla mills 3. She escapes Twin Flame, creating a copy of Mayhem Devil. She escapes Mox Opal, untapping Grinding Station. She taps Mox Opal, adding a red, activates Grinding Station, sacrifices Opal, targeting herself. Both Mayhem Devils trigger, Ryan takes 2 more damage, and she mills 3 cards. Inalla escapes Twin Flame again, creating a third Mayhem Devil. She escapes Mox Opal, untapping Grinding Station. She taps Opal, adds a red, and activates Grinding Station, sacrificing Opal, targeting herself. The 3 Mayhem Devils trigger, dealing 3 damage to Ryan. She then escapes Mox Opal, untapping Grinding Station. She casts Gamble from Exile. She fetches up a card into her hand and then randomly discards Soul Partition. She casts Lion's Eye Diamond. Diamond enters, triggering Grinding Station. In response, she activates Grinding Station, sacrificing Rakdos Signet, targeting herself. The Mayhem Devils trigger, and Ryan takes another 3. Then Inalla mills 3 cards and untaps the Grinding Station. She sacrifices Lion's Eye Diamond, discards her hand, and adds 3 red. The Mayhem Devils trigger, and Ryan takes 3 more. She activates Grinding Station, sacrificing Mox Opal, targeting herself. The Mayhem Devils deal 3 more to Ryan, and Inalla mills 3. She presents a loop of escaping Lion's Eye Diamond, then sacrificing it to trigger her 3 Mayhem Devils and dealing 3 damage to Ryan. She repeats this until he is dead, and Inalla wins the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what an amazing ending to the game tonight. Congrats to Inalla on her hard-fought victory. Each player started off strong, and it looked like Zeb's Ragavan was going to run away with the game. While Inalla was set back early with the Force of Will countering her Dihada, she had a clutch lures to help get things going again. Then Ryan saw his window to combo off, but was only able to kill 2 of the players as Inalla had protection from everything. With an extra turn spell and the card draw from the One Ring, Inalla was given her opportunity. Even through Ryan's answers, Inalla was able to find the winning line to close out this spectacular game. The most valuable card in tonight's game, sponsored by Luxury Playstyle, goes to the One Ring. This 4 mana value artifact acts as a card draw engine that gets even better as the game goes on. Not only that, but it also grants its caster protection from everything for an entire turn cycle. This was crucial in keeping Inalla alive long enough for her to secure the victory. It is no wonder this card is seeing so much play in other formats. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next time when we duke it out to see who will be king of the competitive EDH table. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.